It's called Dances with Bears. Now this story I'm about to tell, the whole thing's true, I swear. It's about an encounter up in the woods between me, my friend, and a bear. Well, the whole mess started when we were asked to go on a pack trip with some scouts to wrangle their horses, keep the boys fed, and to generally help them out. Now, me and Mike were just 19, but we were wise in the ways of the woods. Shoot, we'd been on lots of pack trips, and we knew that we were good. So we took them Greenhorn Explorer Scouts, took their leaders and all their stuff, and we headed into Yellowstone. That shouldn't be too tough. Well, things went real smooth the first few days, and we figured it'd stay that way because we were sharing our knowledge and wisdom with them every single day. But on the day before we were scheduled to pack them up and bring them out, they decided our cocky advice was something they could live without. They wanted to shut us up for a while, take us down a notch or two, and they figured an early morning bath in an ice-cold creek would do. Now, them boys was quite determined, but their planning weren't that good because me and Mike outfoxed them and made a mad dash through the woods. We got away, and as we jogged along, we couldn't help but smile at how we'd outsmarted them greenhorns with our brains, our speed, and our style. We were feeling pretty darn proud of ourselves. We was quite a crafty pair. At least that's what we was thinking until we came face to face with that bear. Well, that bear was tickled to see us. We could tell by the way she fussed, and from our point of view, it was easy to see that a hasty retreat was a must. We turned around to make our escape, but there, much to our surprise, were 3 more fuzzy black bears. But these were the much smaller size. Stationary panic. Now, that's when a man goes plumb berserk, and his mind and his eyes race wildly around, but the rest of his body don't work. I'll tell you, friends, old Mike and me was in that awful state, and if we didn't get to moving soon, it could lead to a terrible fate. Well, we finally got our feet to work, and we made a quick turn to the right, and somehow we managed to walk away till them bears was out of sight. As we walked along, we was thinking, well, that cold bath wouldn't be so bad. Well, it almost sounded inviting compared to this fun we just had, but our thinking was soon interrupted by an uproar that weakened our knees. It sounded like a runaway freight train was bearing down on us hard through the trees. I'm sure you folks have all heard the story, the one about old Daniel Boone. Well, he'd whipped a bear once, so me and Mike figured we'd just do what had to be done. We raced for the trees. I got there first and went up one as quick as a cat, but when I looked down, Mike was still on the ground. I thought he climbed better than that. But he weren't even climbing. In fact, what I saw from about 30 feet up in the air was Mike down there breakdancing. And he's dancing with that big old bear. That's hard to dance without music. Guess that's why Mike was singing that song. It sure weren't much of a melody, but I found myself singing along. Mike was flailing his arms, spinning around on his back, on his feet, and then down on his knees, and all the while we're both just a-singing. Mike down there and me up in the tree. Well, it didn't take much of that nonsense before I figured it needed to end. That bear was just too darn rambunctious. She was making a mess of my friend. Well, I really didn't have a plan as I started down out of the tree. I just wanted that bear to stop dancing with Mike. I didn't want her dancing with me. Well, I was still a good ways off the ground when that bear turned and looked up at me, and then and there I decided the top of that tree was really the smart place to be. But them bears are quick, and I'm still not sure how the old girl jumped so high, but she had me square by the back pocket in the twinkling of an eye. Well, like I said before, I didn't want to dance with that old girl, but when I hit the ground, she grabbed my leg, and I did do a little twirl. But I really wasn't in the mood. Besides, I don't dance that good, especially when I'm dancing with the bear way up there in the woods. So I just curled up in a little ball and kind of laid there quiet-like and hoped that bear didn't dance with me the way she danced with Mike. Well, speaking of Mike, while I was busy having all this fun, he'd forgot about his buddy Mark. He was up and on the run, hell-bent for leather, heading for camp. Just one thing on his mind. He was getting off that dance floor, and if he had to, he'd leave me behind. You know, he probably would have made it, but his conscience slowed him down. In fact, it finally stopped him cold and made him turn around. Well, that bear looked up when Mike yelled and waved, and she took off after him. I reckon she thought Mike was asking her to dance again. But Mike's heart was set on running. Dancing wasn't quite his plan. You know, it's sure too bad that an average bear can outrun any man. Like a chicken on a June bug, she was on poor Mike once more, but I guess Mike was tuckered out, because he didn't dance like he did before. Well, she even tried to encourage him with a toothy kiss or two, but Mike still wouldn't have no part of it. His dancing days were through. Well, that old bear hung around for a while, a-fussing and carrying on, but she finally decided we weren't going to dance, and with a grunt and a snort, she was gone. Well, the end of this story really weren't much, just a long, sore ride on the horse, but I did learn some things, and my advice just could save you some remorse. If you're ever with a bunch of upstarts camping in the woods and they decide an ice-cold bath just might do you some good, remember our adventure, then look at them and grin, and do your best to grab your soap before they throw you in.